Hello! Welcome to your awesome ABC teacher training video. My name is Fionn, and I will be your trainer and guide today. So, get ready to take some notes and let's get started. Here are some goals that we encourage all of our teachers to reach each and every class. First, teach content in an interactive learning environment to deliver exceptional results to all students. 2, teach students the knowledge and skills to help them succeed in school, academics, and future careers. And last, but certainly not least, we want to create a fun, comfortable, and equal learning environment for all of our students. So, first off, I thought I would tell you a little bit about myself and my experience teaching. So, I have taught ESL, or English as a Second Language, for about 3 years, both in class and online. I received my TESOL certificate in 2013 and started teaching in Korea the following year. Korea was an in-class environment and was where I truly found my passion for teaching. When I moved back home to Canada, I knew that I had to continue it somehow. Then I found this great company, and now I absolutely love teaching online, and I hope you will too. Well, like I said, I have taught both in class and online, so I kind of had to adapt my teaching techniques. Obviously, there are a lot of differences from teaching online to teaching in class. I find teaching online or at home is more comfortable, not only for me, but for my students as well. They seem more comfortable in their home environment, which leads them to open up more and be silly with me because I'm always silly. Also, another difference I found was the fact that I had to teach in this little box. My savior was gestures. TPR and gestures are very important in order to get our lessons understood and our ideas across. So I will get into some more TPR and gestures later on in this training video. Also, I found that there were less rules to make, which is kind of great. But of course, we need to set some guidelines for our students, like we don't want to talk when others are talking, or it's okay to be silly, but we need to be serious at times too. Like I said, I absolutely love teaching online. It gets me up in the morning, literally, and I just love seeing my students grow, even though we're on other sides of the world. Also, one of the many things I love about this job is that our work hours can be very flexible. Usually in the summer and fall, we work from 7 to 9:30. But in the winter, because of the time change, our classes can be from 6 to 8:30. It's perfect for people who maybe work part-time somewhere else, or you're still in school, or you have children at home, or you just want to earn more income. It's a tough economy, and we totally understand. So if you have a 9 to 5, you can still work even for an hour every morning to earn some extra income. Also, one of the biggest bonuses is that there's no commute. And who wouldn't love that? Last, from my experiences, I found one thing you should always be thinking about is how you can make your lessons fun for yourself and obviously for your students. If you're having fun, they will too. If you're a first-time teacher, confidence is key. Remember, you have been speaking English your whole life. You are an expert, so don't be nervous. It's okay to be nervous at first, But again, remember, you're the English professionals. They look up to you, so just have fun with it. Also, the kids are really benefiting from your patience and reassurance. So ultimately, you're helping students grow and learn English in a fun, interactive, silly environment, and that's awesome. All right, now on to preparation. Like any job, preparation is very important. So first, we want to review and become familiar with our class material before the class starts. You should know the lesson target, how you will manage your time, the vocab you will be focusing on, and all the songs and their lyrics. We don't want any surprises. You need to be fully prepared for any questions asked about the topic or vocab you're teaching, okay? So really important to review your material the night before your class, okay? Then we want to gather and prepare all of our props or visual cues. I recommend when you are reviewing your lesson the night before, you should look over all the vocab words and practice how you're going to describe or how you can represent each one clearly. And sometimes you might need props to help the students really understand. So I have some props I will show you later on in our training video, okay? Next, we need to get a good night's sleep. You don't want to look tired, okay? One of our biggest rules here is no yawning allowed, okay? If you look tired, then your kids will follow suit and they might not be as excited about the class. So you have to get a good night's sleep. We work early mornings. We understand it's hard to get up early, but this is your job and you have to be prepared and rearing to go every class. Next, it's important to be online at least 15 minutes before your class, just because technical problems, right? Working with computers, there's always going to be some technical issues. So if we're there 15 minutes early, we can solve any camera problems, any mic problems, make sure your headphones working, all that sort of stuff. Also, sometimes it happens, there can be some class changes, or we might send you a notification that maybe your class has been canceled. So being 15 minutes early is a good idea for you and for your students. You want to be prepared for your class. You want to be fully ready right at 7 a.m., not 7:01, not 7:02, 7 o'clock on screen in front of your student, okay? Also, proper lighting is very important. As you can see, my camera is well lit, bright, welcoming, and there are no shadows on my face, and you can see my mouth clearly. It's important for your students to see our faces because it helps with pronunciation, enunciation, and all of that fun stuff. And what to wear? If you don't receive one of our super cool ABC t-shirts, maybe you're not in Toronto, you should wear solid colors. Nothing too flashy or distracting because it can be hard for the camera to pick up, okay? Dress like a professional because you are a professional. You are a teacher and you need to represent us properly, okay? Also, you need good quality headphones with a working mic, okay? I found these on Amazon for $25 and they're worth every penny. I was originally using the iPhone headphones. Those are great for some, but I find these look more professional and I find that the quality is a lot better. So I really recommend getting very good quality headphones. These are MPOW, so you can look up those on Amazon. Then, this one's pretty straightforward and the same as every other job you will encounter. No cell phones or other personal media in class. You might be tempted to show a picture on your cell phone, but please do not do that. Print out your picture or maybe have it in a browser by itself, and then you can share that screen. But no cell phones, okay? Browsers open in another browser are okay, but make sure they're not covering your shared screen, okay? Because if it's covering what you're sharing, the kids can't see it. So tuck it away in the side, maybe for some references, some concepts or definitions that you need to refer to or something. You can have it on the side. Make sure it's not covering your shared screen. And Lei will get into more details about that in your Zoom training video. All right, and last, like most teaching jobs, water only. We discourage our teachers from having coffee in class because you should be awake and rearing to go. You shouldn't need the caffeine, but obviously water is okay. We're talking a lot and you might need it, so it's understandable. So water only. All right, now on to the good stuff. Teaching tips. So here are some tips to a successful online class. So first, we want to speak slowly. Just imagine you are learning Chinese, and if the teacher was speaking quickly, all the words would kind of blend in together, and you know, it could kind of be frustrating. So one of my biggest tips is to speak slowly and pronounce every word so that the student doesn't get confused or frustrated, okay? So you can match my pace. This is what my introduction would sound like. Hello. 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 Great. How are you? How are you? Very good. And then we can use puppets, I will show you later, on how to create a conversation between each other, okay? Not just repeating back and forth, but by speaking slowly, we can really get the children engaged and excited about being in class and not too overwhelmed, okay? Next, we want to use simple language. Of course, we don't want to say things incorrect grammatically, but you can simplify it. We can use two-word sentences. For example, so I have a banana and an apple. So instead of saying, here's a banana, here's an apple, and here is the letter A. Can you match the A? What word, what picture starts with A? This can get kind of overwhelming and go over their heads, right? So instead I can say, apple, apple, banana, banana, and then if they don't really get it then, I can model for them. So, apple, banana, apple. And then we can circle the apple, okay? So, you can notice that I didn't say, this is a banana, this is an apple, can you circle the one starting with an A? Just because they're at a lower level, this can be kind of intimidating. So if we slow it down, we use simple language. Apple. Banana. And then they can realize, you know, she's asking me a question and she wants me to circle, okay? Especially by modeling. Modeling will help a lot. And that's why using a whiteboard, and we'll get to props next, is very important to have, okay? Also, repeat will be your favorite word. Repeating is a great way for the students to remember and become familiar with the vocabulary they are learning, okay? So we can think of gestures like repeat, apple, okay? Something like that. Of course, we want to be patient. This is so important. These kids are very young and just want to learn in a comfortable environment. So we don't want to rush students if they're nearing the end of class. We want to make sure they all have an equal opportunity in experimenting or trying out the new words we are learning, okay? We never discourage. We try not to use no or wrong. We'll try using encouraging words like almost, so close, great, so close. It is, and then you can correct them that way. We just have to remember this is a fun extracurricular learning environment, not a university seminar. We want our kids to enjoy themselves and feel encouraged and loved, okay? So one way we can really get them involved and be patient is just to get to know your students. You'll get to know their pace, and then you can prepare your lesson that way, okay? Of course, we have our teacher's guides, and that will help you provide a good schedule for timing your lesson. But sometimes that doesn't work for every student, so we can prepare and kind of get to know our students and their pace that way. Also, energy! Energy is so important. We are starting early in the morning, so we need to be awake and rearing and ready because our students on the other side just finished a full day of school. And for some of them, the last thing they want to do is sit on camera and learn. So if we use lots of energy and we dance and we sing, the students will be a lot more likely to want to be involved and want to enjoy your class with you, okay? Next, we can use some flashcards. So, of course, you can go online and print some flashcards out. You can draw them yourself, or I actually find some cards at the dollar store that are words that I use a lot, like monkey or dress or princess. So this can be used for a couple different vocab words, or dog here, sprinkles, things like that. And this is where we have to learn and practice using our flashcards, okay? We don't want to go, monkey, because now we can't see the monkey and we can't see my mouth. It's important for the students to see our mouths when we are pronouncing something, because in English, the way we move our mouths is very important, unlike in Chinese. So here, monkey, monkey, hello monkey, something like that, okay? Then I have my finger puppets. I love these guys, and the students really love them too because they're fun, they're cute, and they're really good for animal vocabulary, of course. And also, you know, it's something you can use to show conversation. Conversation can be very hard for children to pick up when they should be answering a question or when they should be talking. So sometimes I go, for example, hello. Hello, monkey. How are you? I'm happy. How are you? I'm happy. So we can see that the monkey talks, then I talk, and the children can kind of see that that's what I'm asking for. I will say, how are you? And they will say, I'm happy. Yay! Woohoo! Good job! So always making sure we're energetic and excited, and these props really do help with showing a conversation between two people. So we have whiteboard, flashcards, puppets, and honestly, anything around you. Anything around you. Maybe a t-shirt. A t-shirt. Okay? Hair. Hair. So this is where the night before we can kind of look through our vocab words and see how we can represent each one very well and easily for all the students to understand. And one thing that should always be part of our prop list is our reward system. Okay, we use reward systems to help students remember classroom etiquette, how they should be behaving, manners, and also it's good for behavior modification. Okay, it's good for rewards, and it's also good for discipline. Okay, so here are a few different reward systems that I use. So first, here is my tooth reward system. So I draw a picture. It depends on my student. Sometimes it's a monster, sometimes it's a dog. I get to know my students a little bit. This time it's just a cute little girl. And we'll say it's for Amy. Amy! Amy, if you do good, you get a tooth. One tooth. Yay! Great. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 teeth. Good job. So this kind of shows that they're adding on teeth and they really enjoy this one. They think it's funny and it's nice to have a full smile at the end of class to show that we are happy with today's class. And next, I have my snake board. My snake board here. So I will use a magnet like this, and I will start here. And each time they get something right, wow! All the way to the head of the snake. Wow! And they're very excited when they reach the end. Sometimes I put a little crown at the head of the snake. I've realized that some of my kids are scared of snakes, so I stick to the tooth one for them. But the snake can be a nice little, change up because sometimes they get bored like kids do. Oh, teeth again. So we can use snake as an alternative. All right, and then I have my marbles. So I just have a glass here. Glass seems to help because the sound, they really love this sound. So I tend to see that all of my students love this one, no matter what age. The tooth one can kind of be too young for some of my students. So my older students, I like using the marbles because, who doesn't like marbles? So I have some big ones and I'll show them like this and I'll say, Can you choose? Orange or yellow? Yellow? Okay. One yellow marble. Yay! And then you can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 marbles. You rock! High five! And they're very excited about getting marbles. And then you can pour them out at the end and show how many they got. They really like that one. And last but not least, sometimes when I have two students at a time, I like to draw their names on the actual slide. So I'll say Amy, Tom, and they'll get a point, and I'll put either a question, a check mark, or a heart. Okay, and then I just add those on, and it's kind of a good little point chart, and they can see it that Amy has more points than Tom, and then it can get kind of competitive, which is great for kids because they always want to participate when it's a game. So those are a few of our reward systems that you can use. I really benefit from using these. So you can find a whiteboard at any dollar store. These are actually from IKEA, but you can find them in the dollar store as well. And marbles were from the dollar store as well. So very cheap, and it really keeps your demo classes going. And the more demo classes you have, the more they enjoy your class, the more classes you have, and the more money you are making. So spend a little now and make a lot later. So it's a really good idea to have props and a reward system at all times. Then we can use our reward system to discipline as well. So maybe we can take away a tooth. Tooth gone, something like that. Kind of shows them, are you listening? But it depends on your students. Sometimes this is actually really devastating for them, and we don't want to scar the students. So I usually use it more as a motivational tactic than taking things away from them. Sometimes just the motivation of gaining a point will help with the discipline anyways. Especially if they're competing against another student, taking away points can be very devastating. So we want to always make sure we're fair to both kids, and I usually go geared towards the motivational tactic, adding on teeth if they do a good job. But if you have some really bad behavioral issues, taking away points will obviously get the point across as well, okay? Next, we never leave the camera. No one wants to be in a class where they don't see the teacher. It obviously doesn't look very professional, and it doesn't engage our students the whole time. So I will mention this in further detail, but this is pretty straightforward. We want to be on camera for the full 25 minutes. We should be completely prepared, so there really shouldn't be any need to leave the camera once the class has started, okay? Stay in the screen at all times. And also, it's important when we're using our props not to block our face. We want to practice as much as we can before our first lesson, just to play with going in and going out. We don't want to move too much because that can be distracting for the student. So we kind of want to have a happy medium on having the children engaged, okay? Next, we do not leave browsers open when sharing screens. So we don't want to see at the top of your browser Facebook or even the dictionary. We want those on a separate browser and not on front of your screen, because if it blocks the children's material, then they can't see it and it's really not benefiting you or the child. So make sure that browsers are not open when sharing screens. And Lei will get into a little bit more detail in the Zoom training video. And last but not least at all is we have to have fun. We have to be happy. We have to have high energy, okay? High five. Good job. Are you ready? Ready for class. Okay? Use lots of energy. Since we are 12 hours behind China, some of these kids have just finished a full day of school. And some might not want to be in front of a camera or in class again. So if we make it fun, energetic, and we make it an exciting environment, then they will be much more willing to get involved and participate and actually learn something. So you have to produce and project the energy. Because we're on screen and not right beside the student, we have to make sure we're pushing the energy all the way through the camera and onto them, okay? So lots of encouraging words, encouraging gestures. We always encourage singing or dancing, anything that brings energy to your classroom, okay? So just have fun and your students will have fun too. Okay, TPR and gestures. These are so important. I can't stress this enough. When we are teaching online, gestures are your best friend. Best friend. So why are gestures important when teaching online? You have to remember that for the students, English is either their second language or a foreign language. So no matter how hard you try to slow down your speech or use basic sentence structures or simple vocab, some things are still going to go over their head. Okay, so what gestures allow us to do is give our students a visual cue for them to understand what we're saying. So TPR, or total physical response, is a non-verbal language that we can show with our hands. Okay, so we can use different gestures to represent our vocab words or even a theme. So here are some good gestures and some gestures we might want to avoid when teaching ESL kids online, especially children from China. So let's start with some good gestures. Look. Look. Sometimes I like to use this one. They find this one fun. Look. Look. The sillier the better. Listen. Listen. Okay? And repeat. I showed you this one. Repeat. Repeat. Sometimes repeat goes together. It kind of shows them repeat and I'm listening. Okay? One more time. One more time. If you want them to repeat one more time. Find. Find. Something like that. Find. Okay? Next. Next. Okay? Next. And obviously these are all just guidelines for you. You will find what works for you and what doesn't work. Some kids like this look. Some kids like this look. You kind of develop yours around your students and what they like. Circle is very important. We circle a lot of pictures in our lessons. So circle. Makes sense? Circle. Or we can use our whiteboard again And circle. Circle the A. Circle. And your turn. Your turn. Your turn. And obviously using their name is the best way to get their attention. Candy, your turn. Something like that, okay? And there's many, many more gestures that you will kind of develop and learn, again, what works for you and what doesn't. Then we have some gestures we kind of want to avoid. So in China, pointing can be considered rude, okay? So we don't want to go, Candy, your turn, something like that. We can go like looking for something, but we don't want to point like right at the kid. It just kind of, it's considered rude in China, and we want to be culturally sensitive, of course, as teachers. And then thumbs down. One, it's kind of discouraging, doesn't look very good. And two, in China, this actually means death. So we really want to avoid that one. Maybe something like, I don't know. Oh, almost like I said before. So close. So close. So close. Something like that. Okay? And here's an example of one of the slides we use. And we see the picture here, but sometimes it's fun to act it out. Why not? Long hair. Sometimes the kids just eat that up. They love it. They love when I act because they think I look silly. I do look silly, but the more they make fun of me, the more fun they're having. So, long hair, short hair, something like that. Or we can even get up and say, dress, dress, or tie, tie, things like that. Acting is your best friend. Gestures and acting. You'll do great. And again, you'll develop all of your gestures as you go. You also want to double check with the students that they understand what's going on, right? Instead of saying, do you understand? That can kind of be hard for them to understand. So we can say, okay, good, apple, 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 good, apple, yeah, something like that, okay? Also, one thing that we do a lot is we ask questions. And of course, we know that when someone is asking us a question, it kind of goes up at the end. But new English learners don't really understand that auditory clue. So sometimes when I ask a question and the child isn't very, his face kind of looks confused or he's not answering, I can go, what color is the dress? What color is the dress? Something like that. And then they realize, oh, I have to say something. I have to answer the question. And that helps a lot too. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about some problems you may run into and how we can easily solve them. First, their pen is not working. So we use this pen function a lot in class to circle, to match. So this is something you might encounter. First thing you can do is check that their annotation is enabled and not disabled. This can easily happen Maybe you turned off the annotation in a previous class. So by just turning it to enabled, this should allow the student to draw again. If this doesn't fix the problem, there are a few more steps we can take. We can have the students exit and re-enter the class. If that doesn't fix it, you can quickly message Florence. She will enter your class and try to help you out that way. And worst case scenario, we cannot fix the pen issue. So you should just continue the class and circle the pictures yourself. Sometimes if the pen's not working for me, I like to number the pictures and tell them to use the numbers or the letters to match the pictures rather than using their pen. So they're still involved in the matching process. Okay, next, your student's camera or sound is not working. First thing to do is message Lay or Florence and then continue teaching. Most likely they can still hear you, but if they didn't hear you, you can always go back after Lay or Florence have helped you fix the issue. Sometimes because the students are so young and some parents don't speak any English, I get Lay or Florence to write out an instruction in Mandarin, like please exit and re-enter the classroom. And then I'll copy and paste the little Mandarin instruction into their chat, just so that it's more clear for everyone what is happening and what's going on. So here I have provided you with their contact information. We have Florence and Lay, and they're both awesome ladies who are always willing to help you out. There's their email, their Zoom, and their WeChat ID, okay? I always recommend WeChat or Zoom for the most prompt response. Okay, and of course, we should never have problems with our own sound and video in class because, right, we are prepared 15 minutes before class for any technical issues. So as teachers, we shouldn't be having any technical issues once we are in the classroom. Okay, next. So one of your problems could be that there's an awkward silence or they're not talking back or repeating. Sometimes your kids are a little bit nervous or maybe they just didn't catch what you said. So especially when we are live streaming, we can run into some lagging. So we have to keep this under consideration when we are having the students repeat after us. If it's because they're shy, sometimes clapping or changing something about you will get their attention again. The more silly you are, the more comfortable and willing to participate they will be. For example, they're not really paying attention or looking, I can put on sunglasses. And then that kind of changes my appearance. The kids are confused and want to understand what I'm doing. So then I get their attention back and then I can start teaching again. Or I can show them my reward board. And this is where, again, I can use it as a punishment or a reward. So they have, say I'm using stars today. They have 3 stars. I can say, oh, look, you have 3 stars. Can you get 4 stars? 4 stars? And then sometimes that prompts them to try to get that 4th star. Okay? However, maybe they just didn't hear you and are having some sound issues. So repeat. There's no harm in repeating many times. It allows them to hear again, and they also can check for their own pronunciation. So sometimes there's a wait or a lag, like I said, so don't worry. Just make sure you aren't skipping over them. Maybe wait a few seconds after you say something, just to make sure you aren't talking over each other. So I would say, apple. Can you say apple? And then they will repeat back, hopefully. So I give them a little extra time just in case there is any lag. Okay, then we have students who are not participating. I will get in a little bit more detail in a second, but it's the same as teaching in a classroom. We want to make them comfortable. Maybe you as the teacher can do the activity first, like roar like a tiger. Roar! And this will make them excited about the activity and maybe more willing to join in. We can sing. Sometimes I like to sing the sentences, and it kind of gets them, oh, teacher's being silly, and then they get excited and want to try as well. Again, we can use the point system. We can take away points. We can add points. That's why your reward system is very important. And again, we can switch it up, change my hair, make a funny face, okay? Or just sit in silence. Sometimes silence is just as good as clapping in order to get their attention. It goes quiet and they're, oh, I have to pay attention type thing. Okay, next, students are talking over each other. This is where our mute button comes in handy. Of course, at first we want to encourage them not to talk over each other using gestures like and sometimes they don't understand or are very excited, which is a great thing. So that's why we kind of can use that mute button so that the other student has a chance to talk, but we're not kind of taking away the fun of the lesson. Usually if you make the shh face, or sometimes you can use their names just to draw attention, like Amy first, Amy first, shh, Sophie, shh, Amy first, something like that. Or I can get them, raise your hand, raise your hand. Oh, Amy first, okay? Or you can even use eeny, meeny, miny, moe, catch a tiger by the toe. If he hollers, let him go. Eeny, meeny, miny, moe. Amy first. And then they get excited and they kind of know that someone should be first and someone should be second. We just always want to make sure they're equally participating with everything. Repeating a sentence, both are repeating the sentence, okay? We want both our students to feel equally involved in our classes. Next, backwards props and our zoom camera. So you probably have heard about this function in Leigh's Zoom training, and she has probably gone into further detail. But just to mention again, there's a little button in our settings called Enable Mirror Effect, okay? And we want to have this on so that our drawings, our flashcards, and our props are the right way round in our camera. Because obviously we know cameras can switch the image, and that's not very good for learning new words or written vocabulary. So making sure that that enabled mirror effect button is on will help reduce confusion when we're showing our props or flashcards. Next, there's an echo. This can happen sometimes, and I always find that as soon as the student puts on headphones, that echo is gone. So I encourage both you and the students to always use headphones because it eliminates echoing, and echoing can be very distracting. Again, we can ask Leigh or Florence to translate, do you have headphones, in Mandarin, and then they can send them, we can send that through the chat, and then hopefully they can put on some headphones. If they don't have headphones, mute button works while you're talking. Just make sure you're unmuting your students, okay? Next, there's a no-show. Your student does not show up for class. Message your CC, Lay, or Florence as soon as possible. As soon as 1 minute past your lesson, 2 minutes past, message them, okay? Sometimes they're still coming, but they're late, so do not leave the classroom. What I like to do is I like to open my classroom with my video and sound off about 5 minutes before class. So it's easy and I only have to click 2 buttons and I'm on camera and ready to teach. And also this allows my students and my kids to get on the camera earlier, and so they're ready and prepared for class to start right on time as well. Okay, and lastly, you have taught the wrong material. If you're prepared, this should never happen, and we should always be prepared. So please double, triple check before you start every morning, okay? We should be prepared for class. So if this does happen to you, unfortunately, you will have to do a makeup class that will not be paid. But that is why we are very adamant about being prepared for each class. All right, and here are some don'ts. Some don'ts we do not want to do in our classes, okay? So first, we do not want to be late, okay? We do not want to be late. I have mentioned already several times that we want to be 15 minutes early and ready to go. By 7 a.m., your camera and sound should be on and you should be starting your class, okay? Like I said, I start my class 5 minutes early, turn off my video and sound, so it's just a boop, 2 buttons, and I'm on camera and ready at 7 a.m. Next, we do not want to skip material. You should have your lesson planned out and timed, so there should be no need to skip material. Of course, each student is at a different level and may take more time to do things than others, but we can establish this in the first class, okay? And then we can adjust our timing based on that. So maybe our first class, we don't get through everything, but we do not want that to happen again, okay? By the second class, we should know the level of our student and we should adjust our timings accordingly. Next, do not end your class early. All our classes are 25 minutes, which give you 5 minutes between each class to complete your feedback form. This is more than enough time, and you have no excuse for ending the class early, okay? You can use our teacher's guide to organize your class properly and for the full 25 minutes. 25 minutes should be completely full. Not 23 minutes, not 24, 25, okay? If this does happen, which it shouldn't, it will be dealt with accordingly, maybe by docking your pay or arranging an unpaid makeup class. So we don't want to even go there. Just make sure you are teaching the full 25 minutes. Next, you taught the wrong material. Don't do it. This should never happen, again, because we are always prepared the night before and we have checked our schedule 15 minutes before classes start. So it shouldn't even be an option. Next, we do not want to forget to record the class, okay? First thing you should do in class is click record. We do this on record for quality control. We need this on record for quality control and to make sure our classes are going smoothly. So if you are not recording your classes, there may be some consequences, okay? It's very easy. Just click the record button. Next, I'm just gonna add one in here, and that's never leave your seat, okay? Even if you forgot a prop, just draw it instead. That's why the whiteboard is so useful. but you also have your pen on the computer too. So we should never be leaving our seat for anything, okay? You should be on camera for the full 25 minutes and no less. And last, we always want to accomplish our teaching objectives. Like in any role as a teacher, we have keywords, sentences, and objectives that should be reached each and every class. Again, this is where preparation and time management will play a huge role. The more prepared you are, the more your students will get out of your class, okay? So all teaching objectives should be completed and then reviewed at the end of class. We usually have a little review page after every class, and that's where you can see and make sure that you have reached all of your students' key objectives that day, okay? All right, thank you so much for listening, and I hope I helped make your first classes with us a little easier. If you have any questions, you can reach Lei, Florence, or I at any time during the week. Thank you again, and happy teaching!